We're going to learn with him my modem. There's my modem from the middle, from the Alpha, from the Friedrich Rebbe, there's one particular book that's called the Sefer Maimarim Yiddish. All this Maimarim are written in Yiddish, very easy for the boys. And the Maimarim there are mostly very avoided Maimarim, very focusing on becoming a better person. Hashem. Yeah, of course. All the Rebbe have Maimarim. We stick Maimarim. Now we have different.
That one. What year was it written?
Oh, most of them are from 1941, 42. Those Maimarim, maybe even late 30s. Now those Maimarim are very good to if you just want to start learning Chassidus and don't really understand the deeper things and that's Silus Abriya to all the various things. So that Maimarim focuses on avoida. Those Maimarim mostly. We have some Rabbeim who are extremely intellectually and difficult Maimarim, like the Rebbe Rashab was a famous one who really is extremely haskaladik. All of the Rabbeim have. We also find in the Sicha, in Sicha of the Rebbe, Maimer of the Rebbe, Maimarim that are get very lofty, very in depth understanding of Kabbalistic Hasidic concepts, very intellectually grueling, deep. And then we have Maimarim which focus on just inspiring a person to be better and kind of focusing more on instruction, avodah. So we need to have everything. We're not trying to say that everything is important. The point is that what makes Chabad unique is Haskalah, that we're not afraid to understand, right? The Rebbe is explaining that this is a necessity nowadays. It's a necessity. Even though in the times of the Alter Rebbe and the Mittel Rebbe and the Samach Tzedek and the Rebbeim and the previous generations, we had many other tzaddikim who disagreed with this position. But now the Rebbe says there is no disagreement. Like she just pointed out now that someone learned Tanya and actually it was his father was saying these things. Nowadays you'll find in Musar learning like Rabbi Lopian's Musar brings L'Kutei Tzich. He doesn't mention the Rebbe, but tremendous amounts of chassidus are put into Musar because they realize that this is what's effective. So the Rebbe explains, in the world of yeshivas, there used to be various schools of thought in learning. And now I'm going to talk about Nigla. Nigla is like learning Talmud and Halacha. So when we learn Nigla, we learn the revealed parts of Talmudic debates, Talmudic discussion. You used to have the form of there was the Polish yeshivas. The Polish yeshivas were more focused on rapid learning to cover ground. To we call this in Hebrew Bekias. Bekias means like to have a vast knowledge of the incredible amounts of information of the Talmud. To know things like a Rav. You go to a Rav, he needs to know the halacha and understand the halacha, but he has to also know and to apply also. But the Rav might not necessarily be the best person who's going to give a shiur in Guemara in yeshiva because he might not be the deepest, most analytical, or in other words, there's various types of people that we need. We need a person who is what we call an amken, who's a person of depth, who really understands something well. We need a person who's going to give over, who has their knowledge. Yeah, and then we just like in Chabad, the same thing. We have maybe someone like a Yossi Paltiel has a very very deep, or a Yoel Khan, very very deep understanding and can give it over. So then you have maybe someone who's like Rabbi Korf, Rabbi Prinya Korf, who's just very avoided, who just like serve Hashem better. He's the so we have and then we have someone who has we have like Rabbi Shalom Fatana who has this tremendous knowledge of anything in Chassidus, or Rabbi Lipsker who has he's a walking encyclopedia. He's actually better than Google because Google I tried to find things I couldn't find with him. He always knows it right away. It's not, So the same thing is like this. So we have there's different shitas in learning. We have the shita. When I say shita, I mean to say a different form, like a style. So we have the Polish style, which was learning for Bekias, for knowledge. Then we have there's another type of yeshiva. I don't know exactly which type this. They'll call it Galician yeshiva. And their style was pilpul. They were getting into the debates and like we say, a pilpul means like back and forth until we could get out to find the truth. Go, questions and answers. A very, very sharp-witted, quick-witted approach to proficiency in the Talmud. And then we had the Lithuanian approach, like the Brisker approach. The Brisker yeshivas were famous for especially Brisk, for very, very deep, very, very deep understanding of really, really focusing on the depth of understanding. So the Rebbe says that nowadays all the yeshivas, there's so many Baruch Hashem, there's many different yeshivas around today. The Rebbe says, but they all seem to be kind of coming to the Lithuanian approach. All of them. In other words, when it used to be that you would be learning in Chachmei Lublin, and those yeshivas are very, very the sharp-witted approach or the Bikiyas approach. But nowadays the Rebbe says all the yeshivas are kind of like they're all implementing a shir in we say hamaka. Hamaka means depth, really understanding very a really clear and reflective elucidation of understanding in depth.
What's the pshat?
So the Rebbe says, I'm not saying why that is. That's the way it is. So the Rebbe says this is the way people are nowadays. You can't go to a yeshiva student and tell him, when it comes to learning the Baba Basra and the Masechta, we're going to use your mind to really delve into the depth and understand all of the shittas and all the reasons and all that. Why Rabbi Kiva says this, and the Rambam says this, and Rashi says this, and Tosfos says this, and the depth of it. But when it comes to serving Hashem, when it comes to love and fear of Hashem and faith in Hashem, so you tell him we don't get into that understanding. We're just gonna kind of dabble in it, and then we're gonna come to love Hashem without using our minds to understanding Hashem. Because it's too dangerous. So the Rebbe says it just doesn't work. It's not going to permeate the student. He's a religious Jew. He's a from boy, so he's going to keep the mitzvahs. But it's not going to really, really permeate him, because that's not the way people are nowadays. Today's youth is not like that.
No.
And the Rebbe says the same thing also about girls. You have a question?
I was going to say, you're so stimulated by outside things today. Your mind, all day long, you're being bombarded by other thoughts due to social media and everything.
Right.
So in order to be who we are, you have to activate something different. If it's not in there deep, we are, and I'm.
Right. Well, the Rebbe was actually the Rebbe was saying this in 1981, which is before.
Because he was
but still,
preparing us.
But the Rebbe was going. We're talking. The Rebbe's point goes way, way back to the 50s, in the 60s, and 40s, 50s, and 60s in America, because the Rebbe's point was that the youth, the people, that the Rebbe, first of all, then the Rebbe, in the same Yechidus, the Rebbe was talking about Shiva students learning Chassidus, and then the Rebbe was talking about girls learning. And the guy was the rabbi was totally shocked. The Rebbe says, Guemara and Mishnayos and learning Chassidus and Kabbalah. The Rebbe was totally blowing his mind. He was just totally, and the Rebbe was explaining that girls also are intellectual. They also have intellect. They also want to understand. And it's not going to work. The Rebbe says you're sending your daughter to Beis Yaakov. She's learning science and mathematics. When she's learning the Pythagorean theory in algebra and trigonometry, and that she's understanding, that her mind's understanding and it's delving, and she's an intelligent girl and she's using her intellect. And now you come to the Torah. The Rebbe says, and now you're telling her, oh, 1 second, girls don't learn. So no, we're just going to learn really, really basic. Just know the halachas you have to know. Nothing more than that. No Talmudic debate. No understanding. Because if you teach your daughter Torah, you're teaching her promiscuity, bad things, So the Rebbe says,
what?
It says in the Guemara that if someone teaches his daughter Torah, ki ilu milam b'tiflos, like he's teaching her immorality, because she'll use her intellect to do not good, to sneaky things, right? And this is brought down in the Taz. The Taz brings it. They brought down the Shulchan Aruch. It's a halacha. So the Rebbe says,
why? She needs to know.
Okay, so the Rebbe said, first of all, so the Rebbe explains it. Now the Yechidus I'm mentioning, the Rebbe doesn't mention this, but in the footnotes it does say that the Rebbe mentions this, talks about this at length, and the Rebbe's opinion is very vehemently, very, very, very straightforwardly that this does not apply to us, and the Rebbe explains because in those days it was very different. In those days, people were mostly illiterate. People were not literate. They were not studying. And the yeshiva student would go. People would do whatever they could to get their boys to go to yeshiva. The boys would be learning, but the parents would slave away that the boys could be in yeshiva. The girls were not learning because the people didn't learn. Even if a lot of boys didn't learn, but the boys have a mitzvah of limud Torah, they have to learn. So they're going to go and learn. The girls, however, are not learning. So the Rebbe says in those ancient times, it wasn't just the Jewish girls. No girls were learning. Girls were illiterate. They were just in the kitchen taking care of the kids.
I know in those times girls were illiterate, but it doesn't explain why learning Torah would lead to bad habits, because men learned Torah at that time and they.
So it's true. So for men also, so she asked a very good question. She's asking, which I'm going to get to that in a second. I'm going to tell you her question and answer the question. So the Rebbe said the times were different, and therefore the focus was different, and therefore if you're going to take your daughter and teach her Torah, you're going to give her intellect. That intellect, but she's not intellectual. She's like the mass of the people who are not intellectually mature. So if you're going to give her this intellectual maturity, a lot of things in the Talmud are intellectual, and also it's because of her intellect now, it might lead that she could do mischievous things and not good things for pure hedonistic pleasures, and this might lead to not good behavior. She has this intellect. So in ancient times, the Rebbe says that was a reality, because you take someone who's totally illiterate and suddenly you're teaching them something using their mind, and all they care about is just purely physical things, and maybe this could lead them to something that's not so good. Okay, but the Rebbe says that. I'm finishing that. But the Rebbe says that doesn't apply now, because that was then and that was now. And she's asking why is it that what's the difference of men and women? So the difference is the men have a chiyuv. Men are obligated to learn Torah. So therefore, it might be that there might be a danger involved that from exposing them to intellect, it might be causing something. But that's a necessary evil, because they have a chiyuv to learn Torah. The girl doesn't. Okay, I'm going to stop over here. But the Rebbe's clear opinion is it doesn't apply to us anymore, and that the girls should be learning 100% with hamak, with understanding. And the Rebbe says now, the focus now, everything doesn't matter, boys or girls, they need understand, they need an intellectual appreciation in depth, or else they're not going to get anything. And the Rebbe says this applies to boys and girls and everything. Okay.
And he feels Rebbe Green?
And the end he agrees to him, yeah. And the end he agrees, but he's like, he was totally like blown away. Okay, I'll do that.